This is Sam. Him and some investors own LifeAFAR, a brand that manages over 200 Airbnbs in 4 major Colombian cities. Sam just moved from Bogota to Medellin to continue to expand his brand, and that is exactly why we are here. Today, we're going to meet with the man who's built a insanely large Airbnb portfolio, and meanwhile, he's going to show us around the city as he tells us his story and the secrets to his business.
Yo, Sean.
Sam!
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing? Welcome to town.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
It's a beautiful place.
Feels like home.
Yeah, well, I haven't had a chance to use the hot tub yet, but
If your home had a jacuzzi in the living room, maybe, right?
It's going to be home very soon. This is exciting, man. This is a really cool Airbnb. I'm stoked. You have tons of these.
Yes, and
So-
this one in particular has
Yeah.
a real interesting story behind it. But how about we check out the neighborhood? I mean, this is one of the nice parts of Medellin, so I know a pretty good cafe. That might be,
I could use a coffee. I'm excited. Let's go do it. So, thanks.
So, Sam and I had a ton to catch up on as fellow Airbnb hosts. He decided, since it was my first experience in Medellin, to take me to a simple, tourist-friendly coffee shop that a lot of expats work at called Pergamino in the Provenza area of El Poblado, Medellin.
All right, so this is your first night in Medellin. What's your first impression in 3 words?
Wakanda, cool, techie. But Wakanda and techie are kind of the same thing, aren't they? Those are probably the same.
Wakanda, please explain that one.
I feel like this is like when we drove in, like
Yeah.
the really long tunnel, and then it
Yeah.
starts to wind.
Which is brand new. The
Absolutely
tunnel is very
wicked.
new. Yeah.
So we drove in, and all we saw were like the hills, and we saw some houses. But it was almost like the view didn't change. But as soon as we got far enough down the road, you could all of a sudden see the city.
Yeah.
But like you couldn't see it like 10 seconds before. But
Okay.
you could still see the whole ravine. But
Yeah.
it's almost like we passed through some invisible force field wall that hid the city, and then boom, there it was.
Through the tunnel.
So that was like legit
and
my
into
first
the
impression.
Valley de Aburra.
That's the Valley de Abora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Valle de Aburra.
The Valley de Wakanda.
All
Is
right.
what it's gonna be for me.
All
now.
right. Okay.
But
There you
yeah,
go.
legitimately, like that was the first thing as we were driving,
impressive view,
the city
right?
just went poof, whole city.
Yeah.
It's not like you slow reveal. It was just like
Yeah.
bang, city.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt
Okay.
like very
All right, I
Wakanda
get
about
I
that.
get it. Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's tight. So you were about to tell me a motorcycle story, right? Okay. So,
Well, I was living in Canada for a couple of years. I'm actually Australian born, but my parents are North American from the States and Canada.
Okay.
I was living in Whistler, BC for a couple of years, snowboarding, having fun. I was about 25 and it was time to head back to Australia, to the real world, right?
okay. Okay.
And I decided to procrastinate a little bit longer and ride a motorbike through the Americas to Argentina. It took me about 7 months to get to Colombia, and here I saw something different. I saw something which I didn't see in the other countries like Costa Rica or Panama, which had a lot of attention at the time. This is
Okay.
2010.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so Colombia was still off the radar. I come through, I do a loop of Colombia, I see what's going on. I see the diversity of this country, right? All of the different climate zones. This place is 5 countries in one.
Yeah.
It's incredible. After 10 years here, I have not had one single uninteresting day here. It's an incredible
10 years
place.
here.
Yeah. I'm sure you're glimpsing that in just your first week here.
Yeah.
But you know, something was drawing me. Something was like, okay, this place has something going for it. I think it has more potential than a Costa Rica, a Panama, but the world's paying attention to those places. Why not Colombia? So it was like, surely that's got to catch up, and surely there's a way that I can get involved in that. And that's how I started in real estate, because I started writing information about how to buy real estate, how to invest in real estate in English, and started ranking in Google and getting attention that way online. And cut to 5 years later, a group in Medellin had started piecing together vacation rentals, which was flourishing at the time, combining it with, you know, the purchase process, the renovation of a property, the furnishing of a property, and starting to put that into one simple investment product. Sign a couple documents and you have a property that was undervalued that is now renovated, furnished, and now generating on the short-term rental market, which is 2, 3, 4x than what you would make if you rented a property unfurnished.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at now.
So the timeline from Colombia, day one to here, I guess there's a lot of points that some people know about you and some people wouldn't, right? So you just said that you started by doing like English-based marketing for real estate.
Yes.
At some point, you started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Right? So when was that in the timeline, and how have those all come together on the path? Because it sounds like 5 years ago is when you started the working with other businesses, right?
Yep.
And I've known about your YouTube channel for maybe a year. So did that come later? Like, how's this?
Well, so that was after we had merged our Bogota brokerage in with the Medellin group. We had a product that worked. We already had a strong content marketing, investor relations, which was my role in the Bogota company that I was putting together there. But in the new formation, that was already being done. So I kind of merged myself out of a job.
Oops.
At the same time, I'm seeing what Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, PewDiePie, Logan Paul. I saw all these guys who are rising up on YouTube, and they're selling T-shirts and social media marketing services and sales products. And I'm looking at, okay, what am I selling here? I'm selling a passive income investment which generates financial freedom, financial liberation.
Yeah.
Right. I have a motorbike. I'm in one of the most interesting emerging countries that I know, and I've traveled a lot around this planet, and I think Colombia is incredibly interesting. And I'm in real estate, which is one of the most popular genres of television, of reality TV at least in the US, right? Transformation stories are some of the most compelling stories there are. And I'm in a country that's transforming, in a company that's transforming real estate, and I can show it with a motorbike and fly my drone around some of the most beautiful sceneries that this country has. Because I'm not only looking for people who would be willing to invest in these properties, but also people who are going to stay in these properties. So I cover a lot of travel and I cover a lot of investment, and the idea is to make valuable content for people, right?
I've known you from the travel side.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people from the outside in probably wouldn't even guess that you were like a big fan of like Gary Vee or something like that, and that's why you got into like your YouTube channel, or that you even had a cause behind it initially that wasn't travel.
I'd grown up on the internet, but I was watching, I was observing, and I was seeing that these people were using the internet in a very interesting way, and I adapted that for my own situation, and it's worked out quite well.
That's killer. You've gone from living in basically America's Canada, right? But instead of going back to Australia, you came to South America, full tour, landed in Colombia, decided that it is the bomb, which I'm agreeing with you. I'm very swiftly starting to agree with you on this. And you got into real estate, and you just decided to just drop the hammer and build a life and build an empire, per se.
Yes.
So this empire includes 200 properties?
Yeah, over 200 furnished apartments here in Medellin, Cali, Cartagena, and Bogota. We've recently fundraised very successfully a project in Old San Juan. We're currently fundraising our second project in Puerto Rico. We're about to open our first project in Portugal as well, because we started servicing people who are interested in investing and living here. Yeah. But in the process of making these investments applicable or available to an international audience, we've built a style of investment that's appropriate for anyone who is looking to diversify their investment internationally. And we're living more internationally now than ever. We're investing internationally now more than ever. I think the internet has redefined how we're interacting as a civilization, and Medellin is becoming, I would say it's in the top 3 locations for location-independent workers.
I heard it's number 2 after Chiang Mai.
Depending on what you're working in, right? Chiang Mai has a lot of drop shipping, a lot of e-commerce. Bali, you have a lot of social media. Usually businesses that aren't as dependent on the US time zone. In Medellin, you'll find day traders, programmers, copywriters, and remote workers.
People with deliverables in the business world.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Who are still operating in the 9 to 5 with the US.
That's wicked. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's killer. So over 200 doors.
Yes.
And do you do Like, what's your mix? Is it a lot of multi-units? Is it a lot of single-family homes? Like, how would you describe your mix on exposure there?
A little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of individual short-term units that will rent for other people. We are currently accepting new properties in that style, so we can manage individual properties for other people, third parties.
Yeah.
We also have smaller units, 4, 6, 8 units. Recently, over the last couple of years, we've renovated and developed buildings with 19 units and 23 units.
Okay. And like this one in San Juan is going to be a bigger one, right?
Yeah, that one's going to be over 40 doors.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as we've been putting the systems together, we're scaling up, and we're doing bigger projects, and we're defining much more tightly what is LifeAFAR and how we bring the Airbnb world and the hotel world and find right in the middle. That's the LifeAFAR position.
Well, you've done some interesting things already as far as bridging them. You've got those little sanitary, like, this toilet has been cleaned seal. If you break the seal, it means somebody opened the toilet, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And something a lot of people on my channel are going to recognize is you've branded your Wi-Fi. Right, with the whole LifeAFAR Wi-Fi in all of your properties, I'm assuming that's how it is?
Yeah.
Then that's sick, awesome.
Yeah.
And if they all have the same password, which I can't bring up on, I'm not going to give everybody your password for your
Sure.
Wi-Fi, but if they all have the same password, that's beautiful too, because
Yeah.
people can just pop in between and their Wi-Fi will connect door to door. It's like a congruent experience. No matter where you go with LifeAFAR, you're always home. Kind of thing, and that's killer.
Yeah, I mean, in a hotel, that's what you expect, right? You don't want to kind of roll the dice. This time you go into the same hotel, but it's a different place. You go to a hotel because it's consistent, it's convenient, and in the Airbnb world, that's not always the case. It's sometimes.
Do you get a lot of return travelers to Medellin?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're getting some brand loyalty.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because
For
what
sure.
we find is people who use Airbnb are not yet brand loyal. They're just looking for a new way to
Right.
book something because they're fed up with hotels generally, and they're on the move, but they haven't made a final decision.
Yeah.
So capturing people, brand loyalty considered, I think is one of the big names of the game right now. You know?
I would agree. In the Airbnb market, and that makes up the majority of our lead flow, right? On the rental side, that's very important. And there's some purists who are like, Airbnb is about the guy
host
renting out his
experience,
room and the host experience, and we bring that by having locals who are checking people in, and
Yeah, you do it on med school.
We're getting them familiar with the zone. So it's a blending of worlds going on. I don't think we're far away from having the entire range of rental options on one place.
Yeah.
Between the room to the apartment to the attic to the cabin in the woods to the hotel room to the luxury resort. It's all going to the same place.
Have you done like unique spaces yet, like tree houses, anything fun?
Not too unique, but we also have recently fundraised a coffee investment, so that might be our first.
You might like put those together.
Yeah, why not?
That'd be killer.
Why
Cool.
not? Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a statistic because I'm going to ask you a question. You may know the answer. So Sonder, one of the biggest companies in our space, the Airbnb space, they have almost 4,000 doors. In their pitch deck to investors, they say that they get about 33% of their business, 32% on Airbnb, somewhere ballpark near 40% direct bookings, and then the rest is filled between like Expedia, Booking.com, HomeAway, TripAdvisor.
Right.
So in Colombia, what seems to be the mix for you guys, like direct bookings to Airbnb, et cetera?
So we'll do about 55% more or less Airbnb. I would say about 20% direct bookings with LifeAFAR. I think we have a lot of we have a big and growing brand in that sense. And I'd say the remaining 25% is split between Booking and the other OTAs.
Okay, cool. So you've got a growing direct presence right now.
Yes.
And that's where your focus is probably is growing your direct bookings.
Yeah, and I think that's where everybody's focus should be in the end, right?
Absolutely.
'Cause
In the end, you
Yeah.
definitely. Airbnb is a great marketplace to kind of get out there, but it's almost like using Amazon to sell your product, right?
Exactly.
So, but you do eventually you want people buying from you directly.
Exactly.
So, do you have any token advice for young hosts that are thinking about booking direct? Is there anything that along your journey to make that happen that you could, we'd like glean some advice?
In terms of bringing in direct, I mean, that's a hard part when property management is one of the most resource intensive types of businesses, right? The check-ins, the check-outs, logistically, the admin. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
To go direct, you've got to think about marketing. So,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to split your time with that. You're going to find somebody who's partnering in, but it's about marketing, getting the word out there, getting the attention, separating yourself on the market, bringing in the brand where appropriate on Airbnb, right? Because Airbnb doesn't want you completely going full brand name. Oh yeah, come over to our company, right? So you have to manage that delicately. But I would say really taking care of the guests, you do get those repeat visits. You know, that's where you're going to get.
Well, and you get their phone number their first arrival
direct.
too, so you can actually remarket them.
Exactly.
So do you get any success off of social media for direct bookings?
Yes, but I wouldn't say it's immediate success. I would say it's more top of mind marketing success. Okay. I think if someone's on Facebook, they're not going to see your ad and be like, oh yeah, I wanted to book a place in Dallas this weekend. You know, it may happen, but I don't think it's the best ROI for a social strategy. I think a social strategy is about having your place top of mind when someone is like, oh, I'm going to Dallas. I remember I know that guy.
So it's like growing crops in a way. That you don't know when the harvest is going to be. So somebody finds your channel from my video on this, they go and subscribe to LifeAFAR, and then they keep up with you for a while, and then hopefully maybe they'll come and stay with you.
I mean, in this moment, if you're about to go to Colombia and you're looking for a place and this video reminds you to book, okay, great.
Yeah,
but
like right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting all my attention to be like, oh, hey, book it, you know. It's like, get to know us, get to know our story. Get to know the story of what's happening in Colombia. We share information about investment in these types of markets, you know, so join our story. When you're coming to Colombia, hopefully you remember, oh yeah, samlifeafar.com.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
so
sam.lifeafar.com.
sam.lifeafar.com?
Yeah, so that's the redirect so that we can track the leads from social so we know what's working.
Okay, cool. So I could put like a sean.lifeafar.com one day.
Why not?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Stay tuned for episode 2 with Sam from LifeAFAR as we talk specifically about how he runs his 200 Airbnb properties here in Medellin. Excited to share it with you. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more.